Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Sunday service of Now Creations. Just a joy to have you with us this morning. And may I simply remind you that you have everything that you need right in the center of your being. Everything that you need right at your center. A couple of other things just to mention. Tonight we'll be having Eckhart Tolle, The New Earth, from 6 to 7:30. And I welcome all of you to join us on Monday night for our meditation from 7 to 8 o'clock. Such an important thing for us to learn to meditate together during an extended period of time. Please join us if you're able to do so. Let's begin. My dear friends, I trust that you have had a pleasant and a very uplifting week of being present to all of the people with whom you have shared this past week. Being able to be in that presence energy is such a wonderful way of living, albeit that it takes continual attention, especially concerning the unexpected events that seem to blindside us in life. In last week's teaching, we focused on being present to others, the everyday people who simply come in and out of our everyday lives. Today, I want to focus on three other groups of which you are a part: our spiritual family, our personal family, and of course, ourselves. The title of today's teaching very simply is Staying Present. Let's begin with staying present in our spiritual family. This is new for most of us. While we might have several spiritual families, I will focus on the one that we have most in common, namely the spiritual family of Now Creations. Just to start us off with a little bit, we understand the importance of having a spiritual family, a place that you can call your spiritual home. Is quite an achievement, one in which each one of us has played a very significant part. Now Creations began as a series of study groups and seminars, and then we progressed to Sunday services and inspirational testimonials. In this process, especially due to the introduction of Zoom in our classes, we began to share incidents in our lives, and we have given much support and much encouragement to each other. Few things give me greater satisfaction than when I hear one of our members has reached out to another member for support and encouragement. Let's be clear. The essence of our spiritual family is the word spiritual. The essence of our spiritual family in Now Creations is the word spiritual. Each of us realizes that it is the spirit that unites us, that at the very center of our beings, we have a common, universal spirit. I applaud each one of you for being able to go within and to reach that spirit within you, and especially to be able to share the fruits of that spirit with other members of our spiritual family. I am also very happy to mention two other aspects of our spiritual family. The first one is that while we are becoming a solid spiritual family, even greater fruits of the Spirit await us. Greater fruits await us. It is by taking the time to be present to each other in our various sessions, taking the time to be present to each other in our various sessions, that the larger fruits of the Spirit will be revealed to us. We need to take the time to be present to each other for the revelation of the greater fruits. One of these larger aspects of the Spirit, however, is a second consideration. Because we have a strong spiritual family in Now Creations, we have a firm foundation of being present to all others. Let me repeat this. Because we have a strong foundation of presence in now creations, we can be very present to others. In a nutshell, we can risk being present to others because in those situations, we know that everyone else has the very same spiritual center because we share this spiritual center with our spiritual family, that we are so inspired now to be able to share it with others when appropriate. Because we have a spiritual family that is centered in the awareness, we can put ourselves out to being spiritual with others because we know we have that spiritual center within our spiritual family members. Please do not underestimate the role that the spiritual family of now creations plays with other people in our lives. This is so very, very significant. As we proceed, let me also suggest a couple of other things in a sense that might be helpful. One other point is that we are beginning to make strong connections with higher spiritual beings, such as the ascended masters like Jesus and the Buddha, and higher angelic beings like Michael and Metatron. Let me explain how. As we have assisted each other to know the soul spirit that is at the very center of our lives. Let me say it again. As we have assisted each other to know the soul spiritual presence at the very center of our lives, we have come to realize that this same soul spiritual presence is what we share with higher spiritual beings. In fact, we are beginning to see that the higher beings seemed higher when we had the lower vantage point of a limited human being. But as we have risen in consciousness, we understand that the very same spiritual presence within us is the very same spiritual presence within the higher beings. No one is higher or lower in soul spirit presence, which has prompted the higher spiritual beings to say to us, we are you, and you are us. This is pretty significant. Our spiritual family is expanding in size and scope as we expand our vision. Again, the fruits of our soul spirit presence is simply, in a sense, taking the next step of what will be many future steps as we progress. Let us now move from our spiritual family to our personal families. Notice how I said move to our personal families, not just turn to our personal families. This is such an important distinction because the most notable difference from where we have been in treating our families to where we are now is that we are bringing spiritual principles to our personal families from the foundations that we have learned in our spiritual family. Let me say this again. We are bringing spiritual principles to our personal families from the foundations that we have learned in our spiritual families. Please consider this in depth. It is now our spiritual family that is setting the tone for our personal families. We are bringing the principles and values of our spiritual family from our spiritual home into our personal homes. And may I suggest in these two following ways. And again, these two ways will apply, whether you're single, whether you live with others, and they certainly include extended family and friends. The first point, the joke about whether one is enlightened or not is kind of ask the question, if you think you're enlightened, spend Thanksgiving weekend with the family. This might have been a statement for spiritual rookies, but not for you anymore. Not for you anymore. Not for you who are grounded more deeply in solid, foundational spiritual principles. May I suggest the two following principles that are basic to all of life and which you are now bringing to your present family situation. The first principle, you realize that you are meant to be a light in your family, in addition to simply being a light in the world. In the simplest terms, you are becoming a light unto your families. This has not been easy for two basic reasons. The first one, you have to take your family members out of the box that perhaps maybe you had placed them in, and you need to be able to see them differently. You have to be able to see your family member as the child of God that they truly are, and that they can profit by the light that you can bring to them. To see others differently is one thing, but to see your family members differently than the way you used to see them is quite a challenge. To treat others differently is one thing, but to treat your family members differently is quite another thing. Which now brings me to the second point. Please note this. To treat your family members differently, you have to show up differently at family events, different than perhaps maybe you have shown up in the past. You have to still be you, that your manner of showing up has to be genuine and sincere of the light. Gossip and grudges need to be released if they show up in family gatherings. Politics and religion need to be respectfully replied to without provoking others to anger and, of course, how they want to be right. This is not always easy to do, as you well know, but the following second point, I think, will be quite helpful. The second point is also based on a solid spiritual principle. Not only are you meant to be a light to your family, but you also realize that the universe has placed you in your family situation. And this is exactly where you have meant to be placed. You're meant to be in your family situation. Again, it's easy to voice the principle that you are always where you are meant to be. This principle also applies, when I suggest, to family membership. It's one thing to be nice to your family. It's one thing to be of service to your family. And it's one thing to love your family. But it's quite another. It's quite another thing to be a light to your family and to realize that they are precisely where the universe has placed you to be. This is quite an eye-opening response to our family. And yet, This is precisely what we're doing. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. It's often nice in one sense, in a sense, to be able to know that, well, if nothing else, we can go to our spiritual family and we can have a refuge in our spiritual family as the Buddhists teach. It's nice to have that refuge. But now you're becoming much more comfortable in being a light to your personal family, because you know that's where you're meant to be, precisely with your family members. Quite a growthful response for all of us. Wow. To be comfortable as the light in your family. Which now brings me to the fourth group to which we need to be present. We talked about being present in a sense to our other people. We talked about being present to our spiritual family and to our personal families. But now we are ready for the fourth group. Actually, it's really not a fourth group, but rather a person. The person that you must be most present to is yourself. To be present to yourself. While you know this, let me begin with a Latin phrase that has a big impact, has had a big impact on me through the years, and then explain the self-presence in greater length. The Latin phrase is this: nemo dat quod non hat. Nemo dat quod non hat. The meaning of this phrase is that one cannot give what one does not have. One cannot give what one does not have. Thus, you can clearly understand the importance of being self-present, being present to oneself. You can't give what is not within you. While self-presence is not easily attained and is often challenged by personal issues such as relationships and health, what I have noticed is that many of you are now aware that everything starts with you. You are self-creating. You are being self-present. And what I've especially seen is that so many of you are now generously extending this presence. In fact, I think we can readily say that presence has become not so much the second nature to you, but that presence, self-presence, has become your first nature. The conscious presence of God is who I am. I am a conscious soul spirit. This presence was clearly evident in a conversation I recently had with one of our members. He summed up the change in himself in these simple but very powerful words. He said, "My heart is changed." My heart is changed. Rather than life being more about one's personality and one's well-being in the world, this person, as so many of you have done, has had a change of heart, wherein his prime consciousness is focused on the presence within him. Wow. And as a result, it now easily gets extended to others with whom he associates. I can't stress enough the importance of taking care of yourself, taking care of your health, being attuned to your relationships, taking care of your finances and living situations, and of course, the most primary act of self-care, taking care of your spiritual self, taking sufficient time to do the things that feeds your soul. There's nothing more important. Do the things that feed your soul. Take the time. While many people care about you, only you can take care of yourself. Please consider that. While many people care about you, only you can take care of yourself. People will be only too happy to assist you, but you must become your primary caregiver, especially with a spiritual base. You must become your primary caregiver, especially spiritually. And of course, spending more time to find out who you truly are. Because nemo dat, quod non hat. No one can give what they don't have. But that's not the way with you anymore. You know what you have. You know what you have. And you have become a generous giver because you too have had a change of heart. You too understand that the God presence is at the very center of your soul. You are a wonder to behold. You are becoming ever more radiant by allowing the God presence within you to become the way you are extending your life. Please continue to take good care, especially spiritually, of yourself. In conclusion, I trust that you have enjoyed these two teachings on being present, present to others, present to our spiritual family, present to your personal family, and especially present to yourself. Please see yourself going forward as the radiant presence of God. This is what we're capable of, being that radiant presence of God. This is our role. And in the process, you will be performing a great service to all of humanity and to the planet. You are a way shower. You are a way shower. And yes, by all means, we are doing this together. Let me now take you into meditation, and what a joy it is to do so. Let us begin as we normally do by simply focusing on the breath, just breathing in and breathing out, and allowing the breath to do what it does. Let it settle your body, relax your mental chatter, and bring you to the fore. Please begin. And would you simply begin by simply saying, here I am. Here I am. This is me. This is me. Here I am. Here I am. I am a soul spirit. And may I add the word consciously. I am consciously. I'm aware of myself as a soul spirit. Let's be clear about being a soul spirit. Being a conscious soul means that you are individuating, freely manifesting your creative energy. That's what it means to be a soul. You are individuating, freely doing your thing. And would you simply acknowledge that? Yes, that's exactly what I'm doing. I am freely self-creating. I am freely individuating, and I am conscious that I am doing so. Would you please feel that within yourself? You are self-creating consciously. But would you also acknowledge that you are a soul spirit? Spirit is the realm of universal principles and universal values. Spirit is what we all have in common. Spiritual principles like love and oneness, being connected to our source. These are at the center of everyone. Would you acknowledge, first of all, that they are in your center? Realize that your soul is being intuitively guided by the spiritual principles of oneness and love based on your connection to the source. Digest that. My soul is guided by my spirit. Oneness and love, connected to source. This is where it all starts, doesn't it? Knowing yourself. Being present to yourself. Oh yes, I am an individuating soul. But according to spiritual principles of oneness and love, connected to my source. Please take good care of yourself. And then it begins to branch out. Secondly, we have our spiritual family. Our spiritual family is so very important because we come together with others who express the same ideas that we do. Yes, we are individuating souls, but we also have the same spiritual center. We abide in oneness and love. We are connected to our source. Have we not so profited by being with others, not just of like mind, but being with others of like spirit? Take a moment to realize the importance of your spiritual family, both what you have received from them, and please do not underestimate what you have contributed to the spiritual family. And are you not seeing how the firm foundations of your spiritual family are setting the direction for you with your personal families and all others? The foundations of your spiritual family are so important. They become the going forth into your homes and the world. Again, focus on the power of your spiritual camaraderie. As we move to our personal families, we understand that so much of the past kind of boxes us in for the present and even the future. We have to move beyond past ways of how we have viewed people, or perhaps how they have viewed us, and focus not so much on how we see them, but who we are as a light. We are meant to be a light to our families, giving them the best that we possibly can. Would you focus on this? Being a light to your personal family, your extended families and friends. Giving your best to them. Not allowing yourself to be boxed in by them. And do not box them in. You are precisely where you are meant to be within your family. This is a revelation for many of us. You are precisely where you are meant to be in your family. We are a part of your growth, as you are a part of theirs. This is a big step forward for us. Loving our families, being a light unto our families. And then, of course, to all others, to all others. Sometimes easier than even to our families, but to all others inclusively. We are a light unto the world. Just by showing up in our radiance, sometimes doing something pretty helpful, sometimes doing something extraordinary, and yet sometimes just doing nothing, but simply being present to others. You are a way shower. You are a way shower. May I complete that phrase? You are a way shower because you too have had a change of heart.
Peace resides, faith abounds, and love abides. The light shines bright to illumine love without, love within. I honor thee, I honor thee. Namaste, I honor thee. I honor thee, I honor thee. Namaste, I honor thee. When you are where you need to be, within that space, I honor thee. See through eyes an illusion, seen through spirit, I honor thee, I honor thee, I honor thee. Namaste, I honor thee. I honor thee, I honor thee. Namaste, I honor thee. Namaste, I honor
We too have had a change of heart. What a joy it is to have had such a change. It enables us to go forward joyfully as way showers, lights in the world. May you just joyfully do so today and realize that this is our everyday calling, bringing heaven to earth, joy to the world and beyond. Namaste, dear ones. Namaste.